And then lastly, the issue I think we'll talk more about later on is unauthorized practice of public adjusting.
Steve does a lot of work with UPPA. Now, if you don't know what UPPA is, you need to know. Basically, and I'm very curious, one of the things that I would like to do from here is I'd like to understand what Steve thinks it is and what the industry thinks UPPA is. But basically, what the insurance companies are trying to do is to stop the contractors from negotiating with insurance companies. This is a system. This is big business, guys, and you have to figure out how it works. And when they're going into the AG's offices, this is a lot of what they're saying. Now, this is taken from Robert Baker did a brief about UPPA, did it on UPPA, and it won an award with one of the leading public adjusting associations. And this is some clips about it. UPPA is a vehicle of consumer fraud. UPPA being contractors negotiating with insurance companies, okay? UPPA is a vehicle of consumer fraud that preys upon some of the most vulnerable elements of our society: the disaster-stricken, the elderly, the unsophisticated, those from whom English is a second language. UPPA has become synonymous with fraud perpetrated by disreputable contractors, ne'er-do-well storm chasers, and the similar predatory Inc. The storm chasers are criminals. This is what they are telling the attorney generals after the storm. And what I want to do is talk about things, of course, that you know, but put it in a perspective that's important when we're framing these kind of debates and making these kind of questions of the industry to understand what they're doing. This is my favorite slide about insurance. This cartoon, The Big Lie. And I love this because there's a guy standing and says, "Oh, it's so big. It's impressive. It's so real. Wow." There's an idea, if you tell a lie big enough, often enough, it's so big people can believe it. What's the lie about insurance? What's the most devastating lie about insurance? When they say, now we're on two sides of a debate, and I represent clients and you represent clients. And as lawyers, we have very important, there's big ethical standards, and if you don't do it the right thing, if you have a conflict of interest, if you lie, you would lose your law license, you would go to jail. Well, guess what the insurance company tells everybody? These are the three biggest ads. These were amounts that were spent on these ads in 1 year. I'm on nationwide, on your side. $359 million in advertising in 1 year. You're in good hands, like a good neighbor. All of these things are doing to what they're saying to you is that I'm actually on your side. But in a claim, there are two sides, of course, that you know. And there are people on both sides that have an alignment of financial interests. Now, of course, when insurance happens, we agree that in a perfect world, the insurance company should pay everything that they're supposed to pay. And the homeowner is not supposed to ask for anything other than what they're entitled to. But sometimes people don't make insurance claims, even though the policy, maybe it's too small, they're worried about their deductible. There are exceptions. But generally, there's a financial interest when there's a claim, which of course you know. But if you think about it, who's on both sides of this? On one side, you've got the homeowner, that their interest is to maximize the benefits that they can get under that policy. You have the homeowners, the contractor, an adjuster, potentially a lawyer, all of those on the policyholder, the storm victim side, to try to maximize the benefits in the policy. On the opposite side, of course, we have the shareholders and executives of the insurance company, maybe an engineer, an adjuster, and a lawyer. Seems obvious, right? Well, to balance, we see scales of justice all the time. To balance a claim, you need to have both sides. And guess what? We know what the percentage is when the scales are balanced? when the homeowners and shareholders have one level, when they have contractors and engineers and adjusters on both sides and lawyers on both sides. There are statistics for this. 1%. 1% of the claims have this balance. 5% of the claims, generally after a storm, the homeowner hires an adjuster, has a contractor, hires an adjuster. And on the other side, you've got shareholders, you've got an engineer, you've got adjusters, and you have lawyers. But the scales aren't balanced now. Now let's go farther. That's 5% of the claims after storms. In 99% of the claims, 99%, this is what happens. The homeowners, what do? They hire a contractor. They hire you guys. That's who they have on their side. Now the scales are not balanced anymore, are they? You've got a potentially engineer, an adjuster, and a lawyer behind the scenes. This is 99% of the claims, and the insurance company knows it. They know in 99% of the claims, there's no adjuster and there's no lawyer. Now, if you think about that in the industry studies this stuff. Who is the one person standing in your way of fighting for the consumer, on the consumer's side, with the same financial interest as the consumer? The contractor. In almost all cases, they have to have a contractor rebuild their property. And in these cases, now the insurance industry has looked around and they have started to support these UPPA laws. Why? Are you supporting the UPPA laws because you really care about the customer? You really want to protect the customer's interest on this side of the equation? Is that what it's really about? As I look at it, they're on the same side. Now, of course, you can go back and you can have disputes. You can have disputes where a contractor takes advantage of a homeowner. You can have disputes where an adjuster takes advantage. He's doing bad. A lawyer does bad. Actually, on the other side, you can have the same thing. In Superstorm Sandy, we had lawyers taking from the NFIP program, screwing over the NFIP program that they worked for. There could be conflicts of interest. But the financial interests are generally aligned this way. So what is the industry trying to do? And Steve spends a lot of time at this with UPPA stuff. And meeting with those attorney generals and going into their offices and saying that the predatory Inc. are the storm chasers. They're the ones that are going to harm the homeowner. When the reality is, that's a big lie. They're financially on the same time. So what they have done is they've gone out and they support and they're going after contractors with UPPA because they know this. Take it all away. Take the contractor out. Shut him up. Don't let him negotiate with us. And if he screws up at all, you got him. Because you can make him be nice. He screws up at all, you can make him be nice. What do they mean by nice? They have leverage at that point, and they are using this as leverage. They're using it every day. Now, I have talked to NAPIA, I've talked to FAPIA, I've talked to other public adjusters about this problem. Because although I'm a very big proponent of public adjusters, why am I a big proponent of public adjusters? Because I want the scales balanced. I want the scales of justice balanced. But they're not. And the problem is, if you take out only 5% of the claims have adjusters. And part of the reason why is because the licensing requirements for adjusters, now they're both at the same level. The law is different for the same job depending on whether you work for me or him. Same job, an adjuster. An adjuster has to be licensed by state. There's a big license requirement if you work for the homeowner. On the other side, he's got to be breathing and have a business card. Okay? Now, all of these laws, as lawyers, it's important to follow the laws. Very important to follow laws because you can get in trouble. But laws aren't always just, and they don't always stay the same. And sometimes they need to be changed. Where I'm from, New Orleans, years ago, in the past, it was legal to buy and sell human beings. In Germany, in the not too distant past, it was illegal to own property if you were Jewish. There are certain laws that are not fair, they're not just, they're lobbied for. In the best sense, some of them are misguided. In the worst sense, they're corrupt. And this is a bad situation that we have. And what's happening? What's the crime of the UPPA that these guys are going after? What is this terrible crime against homeowners? We have a crime if they steal their money. We have a crime if they go and don't do the job right. We have crimes for all of those things. What's the unique crime that the insurance industry is trying to do to you guys? The unique crime, it's very interesting. Go back to this paper. The crime, and this goes on in this paper. The fraudsters, that's you guys, generally offer the UPPA negotiating services as a free bonus if the consumer hires them. The problem is, the crime is that the contractors are offering the service to negotiate what is mostly, and most of the time, having to do with price and scope of damages. It's mostly a fact issue. The contractor is licensed and bonded to do the work, sometimes standing there with a ladder and a hammer and a tool belt, ready to do the work. And is the adjuster, is an insurance adjuster who has a clipboard and a tape measure, and maybe he understands how to use some computer program that he got 2 hours, is he better qualified? And it goes on. The stereotypical transaction involves the fraudsters, that's you, going door to door after natural disasters, advertising repair and insurance negotiating services. Oh my gosh, this is the crime in their eyes, that you're offering negotiating services against them. Then once retained, the fraudsters engage in pro forma negotiations with the insurance company. Oh my God, that has to be criminal. The population is made up of contractors that negotiate insurance claims, likely doing no better than the homeowner themselves. Oh my God, that'd be terrible if you guys couldn't do better than the homeowner and complete the repairs. You have to pay attention to what's happening to you guys when you don't pay attention. And we got to wake up and understand really what's going on.